did like the 1, 2, 3 in 2, 3. Let me get the tempo. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 in 2.
Stephen Andrew, my son, my dear man, we are doing for you what we can. You were different in a world of your own, all alone, but even so, not alone.
In 2022, I made a film about institutions in Ontario, where thousands of children and youth were held away from their families. They were labeled or lived with developmental disabilities. Class action lawsuits were brought by survivors of these institutions for the grievous abuse and harm they suffered as children over decades. Yet in my film, many hopeful stories of meaningful lives led after institutional life could not be told. This story about Stevie Melfiore is one of them.
Well, it's getting thin.
Yeah, but you're almost 100 years old. It's supposed to get thin at this point.
Yes. It's Linda. She was my wife, Olive, and Stevie, who died 2.5 years ago at the age of 65. He was autistic. He was a dear boy.
I think as a family unit, we were all very supportive of one another. It was a very loving environment. I mean, our family was a little different. Stevie was born November of '57. I came along February of '61. So there was a fair bit of an age difference. I remember Stevie saying a few words. We were very close. We played together. I don't remember him talking a lot, but Dad remembers when he reached certain milestones with his language, as most children would, but then he sort of stopped and then just said words, I guess. I remember you telling me a story once that he would, I guess if he was frustrated about something and he'd go to give me a shake, and then you and Mom would say, "No, don't do that. She's only a baby."
Yeah.
You were worried about my safety.
Yeah,
and then you said then when I started talking, and if I saw Stevie coming to give me a shake.
He came at her and said, "Baby, baby, baby." She warned him, and when we heard that, said, "Oh, there he goes." Reluctantly, we had to take him to the Euronia, Aurelia.
My parents were told it's best if you place them here and just sort of walk away. You shouldn't be visiting, you shouldn't be sending parcels or anything like that. To which my parents said, well, that's not acceptable. It was a priority that every weekend or every second weekend we would drive from Pickering all the way up to Aurelia, get Stevie, bring him home. He'd be home for the weekend, and then we'd take him back and bring him home. So we were really able to closely monitor his well-being. The first few years when he was younger, you know, it wasn't so bad and there was no alternative. But then later years, it became obvious. You know, there were, you know, scratches or bruises or a cut on the head with stitches or a broken toe or whatever.
Smashed teeth.
Smashed teeth. Mom would turn into a killer sparrow because she was a very, very quiet, soft-spoken woman. But if she saw anything that looked like funny business, she was right on the staff, marching into the administrator's office, writing the premier, Ministry of Health, whatever, saying, what the heck is going on here? It got pretty bad. And then when it became obvious there was abuse of a sexual nature that couldn't be explained away, there was evidence of that. That was it for my parents. He came out of Huronia very quickly, even though there was nothing, you know, support-wise in the community. That was obviously not acceptable, and they weren't going to risk him being harmed any further.
What could have been? Words more said were never spoken.
My name is Gregory Hoskins, and I am a musician. Stevie's song, which I can't ever remember actually when we decided to call it that particularly. There's so many words that are good in the song. But the song that we call Stevie's song came to be as a part of a result of a class action lawsuit. It was extra money after everybody had been paid out. Instead of the money just flowing back to the government, they put word out for people to, you know, come up with various projects. Mine squeaked in at the very end of the court proceedings. The foundations of the project were in my appreciation for story. I hate to use the word facilitate because that's an awful word too, but it was to be a sort of a middle person for the story and some kind of end piece. That was something that I would call good art. I just cherry-picked phrases out of conversations. Really.
And the melody?
Even the melody, he played the harmonica riff. There wasn't too many places I could go. It was in G, and he played G, C, and D. So that became that was the tune. The thing was to try to sculpt something to hold his words. That was the idea. The first thing that you need to do in the way that I approach this is you need to excavate your life, which begins with excavating memories, and then that generally leads to feeling and some surprise places, you know, both joyful and sorrowful. I recorded Ted in his apartment, the harmonica and his vocal, and it was stunning. And that vocal on that recording it's really good. Like,
Oh, do you remember Stevie baby, Stevie boy? How we called you our pride and joy. It just came to me. Just came to me, the words, the lyrics also.
Yeah. It bears repeating. My only job was to basically cut and paste, was to recognize what struck my ear as a great or good line. It kind of has its folk roots because it comes from, would you agree with that? It has folk roots.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a waltz, I would say, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was born in November 57.
Beautiful boy.
When we moved to Owen Sound, he was 15, 16, 17, he was 20 years old.
So from 1977 to 1997 would have been a series of institutional settings, group homes, back and forth.
Wyatt and
And then they started, thankfully, closing the institutional settings, and with the thinking that it's better to have people not away from their families. And thankfully, Southeast Grey Support Services, based in Flusherton, stepped up and said, we will take Stephen. Mom kept daily notes from December of 1983 until December of 1999. And Stevie moved to his brand new home in Southeast Grey Support Services in October of 97.
yeah.
So the book is called Stevie's New Beginning, a new chapter by Olive Melfiore, A Proud Mum's Notes. And then in here, it's fascinating to read through. I mean, lots of ups and downs through here. But when we get close to the end of the binder, there is references to hearing about Stevie going to a new home in Southeast Grey. Stevie moved into his beautiful new home today, October 14th, 1997. He seemed to settle right in. I think he's going to be happy there. He even flashed a big smile. Stevie was king of his own castle. He was so happy that Norma even managed to cut his fingernails.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's monumental. I would describe my mom as the glue that held our family together. When I look through it now, I realize how optimistic and positive my mom was. No matter how stressful things were, how bleak things looked in the future, she always had a positive spin on things and always saw the positive in the little tiny victories. Stevie and I hit the jackpot with parents. And so Southeast Grey Support Services had a home built. So it was like a duplex home, and the thinking was that Stevie would be on the one floor of the home and a monitor family would be on the upstairs floor.
So my name's Maurice Voisin. I was formerly the executive director at Southeast Grey Support Services. I think for the first number of years, I think the Melfiore family stayed at Stevie's home. So they were there on the weekends and got to experience that, which wouldn't have happened in any kind of institutional setting or in a group home setting. So the model that was chosen by Southeast Grey was very in tune with what Stevie needed.
Absolutely, Stevie's quality of life improved once he was able to go into his own home and had so many choices about things we just take for granted every day.
You see, we brought him home for weekends sometimes, and I remember, with his long legs, he took 2 steps, went up to his bedroom, But then I think he began to realize, well, I'm really happy that this is my parents' place, and this is not really my home anymore, And
That's true. I'd
so
forgotten about
he
that.
went up to his bedroom, and then he turned around.
And he wanted to go back. I remember you planted an oak, lots of maples, lots of
Aspen, I think.
aspen. It's amazing. You pull up to the driveway and it's just Tree after tree after tree after tree till you get to the
Yeah.
house. And then all kinds of scattered trees. Oh my gosh, it's like its own little enclave in the forest. See the nature around that. It was very calming for him. And the last 25 years were very happy years for him because he had choices. What did he want to have to eat for breakfast? What would he like for lunch? What would he like for dinner? When Mom passed away, she was almost 92. I remember her telling me that she was very, very grateful that she had lived long enough to see Stevie happy again in his happy in a home environment.
And he passed away in 2023?
2023, March 18th, 2023. And we had just been up to visit him. So we were there in March, was March break. And then on the Saturday, got a phone call from one of the staff there saying that they were very sad to tell us that Stevie had passed away.
So what do you want people to take away from Stevie's song?
Nobody wants a child to be autistic, to turn out with profound autism. But it's one of these things. We have to accept people that turn out like that, and we have to support them. We have to accept them the way they are.
The Melfiers are perfect examples of people that wanted Stevie to have self-expression. What a commitment from a family to do that for their son, and all about the love of their son, that he would be safe and know love. And Stevie's a perfect example of someone that lived a very well-lived life on his own.
I hear the love and acceptance of, or amen for his son. So to me, it's a love song.
Yeah, you could call it that.
Well, like you said in the bridge, there's a gentle tug at what could have been and what was. And it's a stunning thing to me in that song. There's a few places, and that's one of them.
But he hummed melodies, Stephen. He hummed melodies, and he danced to some music that he went right with it. The Rocket Man from Elton John, yeah. He really rocked to that. Do you remember?
It's so poignant. What could have been stands in for everything that may have been.
We called you our pride and joy.
And then followed by words more sad when never spoken. That is about as true as it gets. And because the words came from, it's not me, it's Ted. And it purifies the experience that he had as a father and as a husband, because his wife shows up. I still hear her, your mother's voice, and I can see her, no, we're not alone.
I like to think of Stevie's song as sort of Stevie's legacy. It shows the world that he was unique, loved, cherished.
Do you remember Stevie baby, Stevie boy? How we called you our pride and joy. You'll never answer, of course, but I still hear your mother's voice, and I can see her. No, you're not alone. What could have been? Words more said were never spoken. What could have been? We carried on, our hearts stayed open. There's a picture on the horse somewhere.
Where is that? Oh, a picture on the horse. It's good to see the laughing. They're both laughing. This one, yeah. Boom.
Bomber.
What?
And a bomber? A bomb?
Bomb.
Was it a bomb?
That was a good one. It was a bump. It was good.
Could have been words more said were never spoken.
Family Alliance Ontario remains committed to the importance of continuing to gather and share stories from survivors of institutions in Ontario and their families. Through the Uncovering the People's History project, information will be available to encourage and support people to continue in this important pursuit.